In this video, I'll share some examples from the book Influence and talk about the psychology of persuasion. Psychology is my favorite subject of all time, and this book explains a lot about how compliance techniques work. We often use heuristics in our day to day lives. For example, if something is expensive, it must be good. If your peers are using a particular thing, it must be good based on social proof. If something has limited availability, it must definitely be good. It's a bummer that these rules of thumb are now so widely known that marketers and salespeople are using it to their advantage. And why wouldn't they? It's part of the job after all. Some of us while might think that we can't be fooled. Time to test. Imagine what would you do in the following scenarios. Let's say your child saw an ad on TV for an attractive toy just before Christmas, and you ended up promising to buy it. When you got to the shop, you find that it's out of stock. What do? You buy a substitute. Here's the twist. After Christmas, your child sees that ad again and runs up to you, reminding that you promised. What now? Do you see yourself going to a store to keep your word? Pretty plausible, right? I can definitely see myself doing this. Here's how big toy companies use this behavior to their advantage. They intentionally undersupply their stores with the toys they have gotten the parents to promise and supply plenty of other substitutes instead. Call it genius, call it an ethical, doesn't change the fact that it works. Knowing about these practices is the first step towards learning to identify these traps and start saying no. Now, assume you are in a room with a stranger. He leaves the room and returns with a Coke for himself and one for you. In the experiment mentioned in the book, not a single subject refused the Coke. It's easy to see why it would have been awkward to turn down the favor. The money had already been spent, a soft drink seemed like an appropriate favor in that situation, especially since the other person had one himself. It would have been considered impolite to reject his thoughtful action. What ended up happening is that receiving the Coke leads or led to a feeling that you are in debt. Now, the other person announced his desire to sell some lottery tickets. The study found that when the Coke was offered, people bought twice as many tickets. I want you to notice the important asymmetry here. You did not choose anything. The other person chose the form of the initial favor, which was the Coke, and he also chose the form of the return favor, in this case, the lottery tickets. Of course, you had the choice of saying no to both the offers, but those would have been tough choices. To have said no at either point would have required you to go against the natural cultural forces that favor reciprocation. Think about it, let this sink in. It's a perfect example of deception, hook, line, and sinker. The book talks about six weapons of influence. I'll go over the ones that I like the most. Reciprocation is the deadliest of them all. In short, we mirror others. If someone's nice to us, we are nice to them. Simple evolutionary surviving tactic. We saw the Coke example above. Another way this could be used as a highly effective compliance technique is also known as the rejection then retreat. Um, in this case, you suppose you want me to agree to a certain request. You first make a larger request of me, which I will most likely turn down. After I have refused, you then make the smaller request that you were really interested in all along. Used correctly, this can greatly increase your chances. Why? Because I view your second request as a concession to me, and I'm now inclined to mirror, that is, providing a concession of my own. The only one that I have immediately open to me is compliance with your second request. Let's talk about the commitment and consistency principle. This basically says that once people commit to something, say take a side in an argument, it's very hard to change this. This is because people want to seem consistent with their previous actions. In horse racing, we can see this behavior easily. If you see a better 30 seconds before putting down their money, they are tentative and uncertain. However, 30 seconds after the deed, they are significantly more optimistic and self assured. The act of making a final decision, in this case buying a ticket, is the critical factor. Once a stand has been taken, the need for consistency pressures these people to bring what they feel and believe into line with what they have already done. So they simply convince themselves that they had made the right choice and no doubt feel better about it now. Another one is also known as the foot in the door technique. Let's say I make a small request to you and you agree. Now, if I make a larger request, you will tend to grant that as well. Because I now have my foot in the door and you want to be consistent with your actions. So I learned about this while studying a psychology elective back in college. And frankly, I have tried this on many people, and this actually got me hooked to explore more about psychology. I've also learned another well known principle of human behavior, that it says that when we ask someone to do us a favor, we'll be more successful to will be more successful if we provide a reason. So people simply like to have reasons for what they do. If this got you intrigued about psychology, I would definitely recommend you reading the whole book. And if you want to join a mastermind group of voracious readers, apply using the link in the description below. Until we meet again, this is Swap signing out.